Music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly, get caught in the fray. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. You propose the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steam Pun Kelly with the sand clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pun Show. Hope you're doing well today. Ready for a great weekend? Hope it's going to be a great weekend. If you're a football fan, like I am, then you've got the playoffs to enjoy. Team I've been cheering for lately is the Chiefs, but, you know, when I got into basketball writing, I kind of like the whole fan thing started meaning a lot less to me, and actually I tend to like watching sports more when I'm not vested in a team, believe it or not. It's like you can just enjoy the actual game and kind of cheer for whoever has the ball or whatever. If I were cheering for anybody, it'd probably be the Bears. Still got a little Bears fandom in me from the years that I spent in Chicago. But I'm not like tremendously vested in the Bears winning or anybody winning. So how's everybody doing today? We ready to rock this show. All right. So there is a new video out. I'm not going to play the video that shows the ICE agents' cell phone footage of the incident, which I find it like first of all, I've seen some MAGAs talking about this like it's cam footage, like his whatever they call the camera footage. No, this is his cell phone. Hey Brett, how are you doing today? Get the notification, blah, blah, I'll be on and off until 4 p.m. Hey, guys, got to work. So, what do they call? Body cam. That's what I'm trying to think of. MAGAs are trying to make it out like this is his body cam. It is not his body cam. Actually, I kind of wish it were, because then that would show where the contact allegedly made place. But, my read on this is, first of all, the footage does not actually show where the contact is. Secondly, it sort of reinforces what I've been saying about this whole thing, is that it's, if anything, it's just a lack of competence. That he's sitting there standing in front of the car filming on his cell phone like he's some sort of content creator. Never trust a content creator. So anyway, he's like standing there and he's filming the whole thing when he's supposed to be doing his job. Why is he filming this? Like, and then like when you can see her, you know, like I've been saying, trying to steer away from him. You can see her steering the steering wheel. And she's trying to, you know, like steer away from him. And then he's like, oh, and then there's like a little bump. And then he, you know, kills her. So there's a few things. One, the absolute lack of competence that he's standing in front of the car and filming for whatever reason, instead of doing his job, and like not paying any attention. You can see she had, you know, everybody's talking about, well, what's he supposed to do? He's got to make a split-second decision and all of this. Well, she doesn't know she's going to get shot. And she's got different agents telling her to do different things. She's got people on both sides of her trying to, get into the car, and she's got a guy behind her and she's trying to back up and drive away. Her wife is telling her to leave. So she's just trying to get out of there, which is perfectly legal, by the way, and certainly not grounds for lethal force. And so she's pulling. Well, you can see her steering the wheel. When I had certain people on this show insisting that she was trying to hit him, and you can actually see her steering away. You can see him not paying attention to what is going on because he's too busy worrying about his camera footage. And then after that little bump, which is what apparently all the concern has been about, then he fires her. So then he shoots her. After she's cleared, everything else is off the table. She was no longer a threat, even if she were trying to kill him, when she obviously wasn't, since she was steering away. But once she was past him, it's not a justified shooting. And there's all kinds of court cases on this. There was one court case where somebody was like going less than 5 miles an hour and he was off to the side, and that wasn't declared a justified shooting. There's other shootings where somebody had tried to hit an officer with the car, but once the pathway was clear, continuing to shoot at them was not justified. So there's no way that video actually exonerates him. It actually makes him look worse. And it makes, to me, the whole ICE agency work look worse. And when you compound that with this incident in Portland yesterday, you have a situation where the 16 other lies that I've documented before on this show, you have a pattern. So I'm going to go into that in a minute. I'm going to look through your comments. I've got some. Sorry, I lost all your comments. I accidentally hang on, I know what I can do. All right. I accidentally left my browser. So is this the right one? Okay, so I can't pull them up, but I can read them. Whether she's given an order to exit the vehicle is irrelevant. Vanilla. The what we're looking at here is not who is right and who is wrong, or whether or not she did anything wrong. What we're looking at is grounds for lethal force. So there's all kinds of discussions we can have about whether she should have exited the vehicle or not. And people can take both sides of that. But the important thing is that we're talking about what he did, not what she did. And he cannot go around shooting people because they don't leave the car when he tells them to. Well, how can he see which way the tires are facing when he's in front? Well, that's my point, is he shouldn't have been in front. It's a competence issue. That's why you shouldn't be in front of the car filming your camera. And she did not drive at him, and you can see that while he's filming. Maybe that's how he should know that she's not, because he literally filmed her steering away from him. I'm not spewing any and it's not body cam. It's cell phone footage, Vanilla. It's his own cell phone. It's not body cam. Okay. Okay. So, afternoon, Joe. Hope you're doing well too. Current administration is telling all of America we didn't see what we've seen. How could any sane person that isn't a full bloodlust be against someone like us and defends a face mask? Like, if Joe Biden said the sky was blue, and then Donald Trump said, no, the sky is green, then MAGAs would be like, Oh, stupid libs believe Joe Biden when he said the sky was blue. Remember, America, Europe is watching, and Germany looks at when people are given orders versus what's right. Yes, many of cops have done this same thing. Yes, and consistently, the courts have ruled that when they do that same thing, it is not qualified immunity. I went through and looked at the case history yesterday. I made a video about it, like a whiteboard video. But yes, there is a consistent case history of cops trying to use the the threat of a vehicle as justifying lethal force and being overruled on that. In order for it to be lethal force, there has to be no other option, including getting out of the way. And obviously he could get out of the way because he did. Yeah, even nothing. Yeah, because in Europe they actually, I don't know if you're talking to Europe. Europe has more respect for its citizens than this. You saw the wrong video. No, there's all kind. We've all seen all the videos. There's no video that shows she tried to kill him. If there were a case, if they had, like, let's say just hypothetically, he hadn't killed her and had just radioed ahead and they had detained her, they stopped her in a traffic stop 2 blocks down and arrested her and her partner and prosecuted her for attempted murder, there is no way that would even get past a grand jury. It just wouldn't. The only reason people are saying he tried to kill her or she tried to kill him is that's what they want to see. Khmer Rouge. That's a interesting reference. Pol Pot was not a good person. Did you know that he wanted to kill everybody that was over 12 when he took power? Maybe that's what Donald Trump wants to do. No, the guy was not run over. Okay, he was not run over and dragged by any. First of all, like we don't use the I word to describe people here. Secondly, he wasn't run over and dragged by an illegal alien. He reached into somebody's car as they were driving away when they drove away. He wasn't run over. He was dragged, yes, but again, it's a competence issue. Nobody should be reaching into a car that can drive away. And so that's why I want to talk today about the incompetence of ICE and get away from this whole thing. Because I think that even the best case scenario, if you look at the best case scenario for ICE, what you're looking at is a completely incompetent officer that made this whole thing happen. And, you're talking about this incident from last year. It wasn't last year, it was last summer. But he reached into somebody's car and then they drove away and he got dragged. Yes. And that's unfortunate. And the person who dragged him should be prosecuted for that. That woman did not deserve to die for that. And if he is so traumatized by this, why is he still on the street? Number one. And number two, if he is so traumatized by this, why is he standing in front of a car that's already running and filming instead of paying attention to the woman driving the car? Remember when Ambien chatted, and typed Kofif? We had to suffer through hearing mega morons type that for a month. Oh, and Brett, I don't know if the Dinesh Sozu or whatever his name is, he when Donald Trump pronounced it Thailand, do you remember that? And then Dinesh sat there and was trying to defend him. And so I dragged him on Twitter and he got really mad about that. And he like argued with me for a week that it was really pronounced Thailand. And if I had been anywhere else in the world, I would know. Everybody else in the world calls it Thailand. And, I pointed out to him that I've lived on 4 continents, been to 36 countries, never once heard it called Thailand. Democrats would stop breathing if Trump said he loved oxygen. Okay. If Trump's, I bet you're taking extra aspirin now so that you won't have thick blood pumping through your heart. You people are actual clowns. My God, thank God you have no power. I will never side with anyone that is against American citizens and supports thugs, bullies, and citizens where there is no problem. And that's the thing. I mean, you can sit there. Zoe can talk all he wants, and Quiltus can talk all they want. But there was not an unavoidable conclusion to that incident in Minneapolis, where either one of them died. Like it wasn't a choice between he died and she died. He is the officer. He is the one that is supposed to be making the decisions. He's the one that's supposed to be trained to make those snap decisions. She also had a state of mind. She had officers giving her conflicting evidence. There's reports that she had been following them around all day. We haven't heard that from anyone except for the Trump administration. There's no evidence of that. And she had just dropped her kid off at school. That's number one. Number two, she was a legal observer. So even if she had been following them around all day, she was perfectly justified in doing so. She had been parked in that spot for less than 3 minutes, and she wasn't really parked. She was just stopped while cars were going past so that she could turn around and leave. Then all these ICE agents start screaming at her, and they're telling her to do different things. 2 of them are trying to pull into her car. She backed away so she could get around the one officer that's walking in front of the car. So she's paying attention to where she's going. She's trying to pay attention to these 2 officers. And you got the idiot filming the whole thing from the front of the car where he's not supposed to be standing. But somehow everything is her fault. She's supposed to be able to process all this information that's coming out of nowhere. She's not trained to be in that situation. And she shouldn't have to be. But you can take all of that and you can figure out she is a domestic terrorist that was trying to kill an ICE agent. Based on the fact the moron was standing in front of the car. Most people are smart enough not to stand in front of moving cars. Especially if they've already been dragged by one. I am not. Tell me what I'm lying about. Where is the lie? 800 millions have had their this AR Christmas. To threaten life. We care about life. We care about the people in Germany. Not one of us agree with her killing. Okay, I see what you're saying. Stage production actors. Well, I don't think this was staged. I'm from Florida. If a cop pulls out a gun and tells you to get out of the car and you punch. Okay, so you're from Florida, first of all. That doesn't matter. If a cop pulls out a gun and tells you get out of the car and you punch the gas, you get ventilated. Maybe that's just me. Well, it is just you, and it's also not legal. I mean, that is not the way the law works. If the world works like that in Florida, then you should be having cops prosecuted in Florida. And it's definitely not the way DHS policy works. DHS policy is very specific. You can only shoot somebody in a moving or in a vehicle if they're A, using that vehicle as a weapon, and B, and this is really, really important. Well, you can fire at somebody in a vehicle if either A, they're threatening you with something other than the vehicle, or B, they're threatening you with the vehicle and there is no way to get out of the path of the vehicle and there's no other defensive options. Since he got out of the way of the vehicle, We know for a fact he could have gotten out of the way of the vehicle. So that is just whatever you think would happen in Florida is irrelevant. But it's also, you've got to take the rate of speed into account, which previous court histories have done. And there was one situation like this where somebody was standing off to the side and the car was going less than 5 miles an hour, like exactly like this situation. And a car going that slowly is not a threat. And so some people say, well, she accelerated. Well, she accelerated after she got shot. So we don't even know that she was alive when she accelerated. That could have just been like a death spasm in her foot hitting the gas pedal. She wasn't accelerating in that moment where there may or may not have been contact. It's still hard to tell. And it's hard to tell who made contact with who, because there's a lot of, and the camera footage doesn't show this, because it doesn't even show his cell phone footage doesn't show this, because it doesn't show the moment of contact at all. But there's like a woman that was watching the whole thing from her upstairs window, and she says to her it looked like he was throwing himself on top of the car. And if you look at the actual footage of where there's this kind of contact at the front left corner of the car, it certainly looks like that by the body angle and stuff. So, well, Kiltus, you don't speak for all of America. ICE is a bunch of divorced deadbeat dads yes, and that's actually, you know what? Instead of rehashing this over and over again, I'm going to get into the thing I wanted to talk about, the thing I was preparing for, because I think that's the important part. I want to talk about the incompetence of ICE, because I think that this issue is not unique. It's not isolated. There are time and time again. This isn't even the first time that ICE officers, shot a woman in a car, accused her of ramming it, and then got called to the carpet on it later. So even that aspect of it, there are at least 17 cases I could find just in the last 6 months where ICE was caught in lies and had things thrown out of court by judges because they were lying. So I wanted to look into one. So it's a systemic thing with ICE. It's not this case. You had the case in Portland yesterday, where if you believe that they were having this targeted search of some infamous cartel member in the middle of a parking lot, a hospital parking lot, no less, in the middle of the afternoon, where there could be very easily lots of other people around, and only like a couple of agents are just going to go up there and do this targeted traffic stop, whatever that means. But targeted implies that they know who that person is and they're specifically going after that person. So where's the warrant? How come nobody else even knew who the name of the person is? How come the parking lot wasn't sealed off? How come there were no backups? You're going after this really dangerous person, and you have this history of ICE lying. So how am I supposed to believe that this was just a couple of Border Patrol agents going after this cartel thug? And why is Border Patrol doing it? Why isn't it the FBI? Why isn't it DEA? Why is Border Patrol doing a targeted traffic stop of a cartel member doing prostitution? What does Border Patrol have anything to do with any of that? If it's an immigrant, why isn't ICE doing it? Why is Border Patrol doing this? So I started looking into, somebody had mentioned on the show the other day that ICE, the training standards had been diminished. And so I started from there, and I started looking at the training standards and the recruiting, because there's like the $50,000 bonus. And I heard somebody else say something on a TV interview that maybe the standards had been lowered and the like background checks weren't being the same. So I started thinking we should call them DE ice hires, you know. There are apparently a lot of really, really unqualified ICE agents running around, and they're not just doing jobs. They're not, you know, we're giving them guns. So it seems kind of important that they be adequately trained. So then I also looked at what is the training. So I looked at how are they being recruited, how are they being screened, and how are they being trained. And this is the all right, here we go. So this is what I came up with. This is the dashboard I generated. I'm just gonna real quick look at some of the comments. ICE is not, well, we'll go through that in a second. You're a 70, I'm 58, dude. And I'm not babbling about a politician. I'm sure really ICE, I'm sure ICE really targets shooting women in cars. Well, I mean, they really shot a woman, and they've actually shot 2 women in cars now. Why was she stalking ICE? She wasn't stalking ICE. She wasn't impeding. And if she were, then that wouldn't be grounds for lethal force. And when she ordered to exit and refused as they were going to pull her out of the vehicle, she attempted to ram ICE to get away. Whether she attempted to ram ICE to get away is entirely a matter of very, very subjective opinion, but it was clear that she was out of the way when he shot her all 3 times. And so that is not grounds for justified force. This is not about what the woman did. This is about what the officer did. And that's why I'm talking about competence. What he did, regardless of, even if you want to say it was justified, I have not seen a single police officer or I've seen a lot of people that are like, well, we need to withhold judgment until we get all the facts in and stuff, and like not condemn the ICE agent. But I think it's pretty universal that he should not have been standing there filming with his camera and not paying attention to what was going on when she was in a moving car. That is incompetence. Well, whether she did or not, we'll never know, will we? But we do know that the film that he was filming showed her steering the steering wheel is going away from him. Well, this has nothing to do with illegals. All right, so wow. Anyway, at least I got a lot of people in here. So all right, so let's talk about how they're incompetent and who they're getting. All right. I'm not gonna rehash the same conversation over and over again. I wanna actually. Did I? Okay, where did I go? Here we are. All right. So, ICE hiring crisis 2025, a systemic failure. How ideological recruitment plus no screening plus minimal training equals disaster. And it's not just this one incident, it's all of it. ICE is constantly escalating things. It's constantly making things worse instead of better. And law enforcement is supposed to be trained to de-escalate, not escalate. What you have is just a train wreck of incompetence. So let's start with the actual recruitment. First of all, there's all these white nationalist dog whistles. And I know some people are going to be like, what are you talking about? So okay. So this is an example. This, I don't know who knew about this or what you know about it, but this right here is a post from Homeland Security. And you might look at this and say, oh, there's nothing to it. But this has got all kinds of things. If you're privy to the, white nationalist dog whistles type thing, A heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending. American Progress, John Gast. Okay, first of all, you've got this woman that is like supposed to be, like America and all of that. And you've got all of this, glorification of American past stuff right here. And this is all kind of veiled American glory type things, like back in our imperialist days when we were conquering the Indians and stuff. Then you've got let me get this comment off. It's distracting. Okay, then you've got the heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending. That is the Ainch and Ainch are capitalized for both heritage and homeland. And that is like those capitalizations are supposedly like this kind of Hail Hitler thing, like the Ainch and the Ainch. And then there's something about there's 14 words to the sentence, and 14's like a white supremacist thing. And there was another thing. What was it? Anyway, you start adding up all of these things, and it seems to be a big coincidence for one post that it's got all these little little aspects of it that correlate with white supremacist stuff. And these are the kind of white supremacists that look for these kinds of things. These are not things that you would know about if you're just a standard not white supremacist person, or not a person that studies this kind of thing. And so you can say that it's just the defend your culture messaging that comes from both Homeland Security and Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. The 14-word captions, Nazi reference, change capitalization, Hail Hitler. Then you've got Trump, using the same kind of they're going to poison the blood of the nation rhetoric. You've got all the replacement theory stuff coming from not just Trump and Miller, but also from, people like Elon Musk. So you can sit there and say that this isn't all just overblown. This is all nonsense, but it's all there. The more it piles up, the more hard it is to believe that it's just a coincidence, or it's just somebody trying to make something out of nothing. And even if it is nothing, even if they don't mean anything by it, even if it is all just a coincidence, you have people that read into these things and want to believe these things. These are the people that believe the stuff QAnon tells. These are the people that believe in coded messages that are joining ICE. Some of the people that are joining ICE are people that believe these kinds of messages, that believe that, yes, make America great again means make America white again. And I'm not saying everybody that joins ICE feels that way. And I'm not saying everybody that's in ICE is a racist. I am saying that if you're a racist and you see this kind of messaging, you might be more inclined to join ICE. You might be like, yeah, let's do it. And so as a result, Homeland Security should be doing some kind of screening to make sure they're not getting white supremacists that want to just go out and kill people. Because those people do exist. Not all white people are bad, but not all white people are good either. There are bad white people, and there are white supremacists, and there are people who are happy to kill people for not being white. So that being the case, when you're using this kind of imagery and trying to shill for and trying to recruit people, you also need to screen the people you're recruiting. Okay, looks like an AI trash picture, but it's not an AI trash picture. That is something that was actually posted by the Department of Homeland Security. That's not, It's not like this is not a made up thing. That was an actual post from Homeland Security. MAGA melting down in the chat. They hate it, but they can't leave it. They can't. I'm like the hot pepper that they don't want to eat and they can't stop eating. Just too delicious and too spicy. She hit him. Okay, we're still talking about that. So Trump removed the last effective taxes of billionaires and corporations. 1.5 trillion times. How are you going to pay off your deficit? Yes. Meanwhile, and we've got more wars. I'm also, hopefully, if I have time, I'm going to talk some more about the war powers. I did some research on that last night too. But what in the hell did Kristi Noem do to her face? Look at that face. Good old Kristi. Oh, hey, Skippy. Did you see there is a GoFundMe for the ice guy? Of course there is. MAGAs always get paid for being bad people. Everybody runs to rally around them. I wonder if there's a GoFundMe for, and you know, like you know, when the fireman was killed in the first Trump assassination attempt, I contributed money to his family. They didn't deserve anything that happened to them. You know, I'm not above giving people money, but you had the Cinnabon girl that like made bank off of just screaming the N-word. Whether she hit him with the car at this point, I've said it enough times, is irrelevant. He shot her after she was cleared, after she was past him. All 3 times. You can see him on the left side all 3 times. And so everything else is moot to me. Everything else doesn't matter. Once he was not in danger, every time he discharged his weapon was attempted murder. Russia is losing the war. So anyway, we're talking about ICE right now. We're trying to anyway. Is anybody other than me trying to talk about ICE? So yeah, but he could be in the front of the vehicle. You know, the front of the vehicle does not mean, because the bullet went through the front of the vehicle, does not mean he had to be directly in front of the vehicle. Like he could have been by the driver's headlight, which seems to be about where he was. And it's not just that too. He fired after the car was cleared. After he was not in the pathway of the vehicle. And you can also see her trying to drive away. But I'm keep trying to like talk about something else, because what happens is people, like a whole new group of people. Yes, there is video. I've seen the video. I've shown the video. I'm just tired of talking about it. All right, so let's go back to the trying to talk about, there is no when they're recruiting these ICE agents, that they're clearly using white supremacist rhetoric. They're using white supremacist imagery. They're using, you know, like these coded literal Nazi messages to get people to come and join ICE. They're offering $50,000 signing bonuses. And then when they come, they're not even trying to screen out the white supremacists and, you know, even felons in some cases. There's no bias screening. There's no extremist checks. There were over 200 recruits that were hired without even taking their fingerprints. For some, there's no drug testing. Age caps are eliminated. And 50% don't even know what the immigration laws are. Like they take a test to see if they know the immigration laws. They're failing the test and they're being hired anyway. So like, how are you supposed to enforce laws that you don't even know what are? Their training is cut by 72%. It's 6 weeks of training now. It's supposed to be 21. There's no Spanish language training, which supposedly they're going after all these Spanish-speaking people, and they don't speak the language. And you can say, well, they don't speak English. They should speak English if they want to be over. But that's kind of not the point. If you want to enforce the laws against people that only speak Spanish, you should speak Spanish. 33% of them fail basic fitness because you can take the gravy, you can take the seal out of the gravy, but you can't take the gravy out of the seal. Half fail constitutional law tests, which I suppose they got the second half of the Second Amendment down. Minimal de-escalation training. This is over and over again. You see them like aggressively trying to make situations worse that are already peaceful. It's like they're escalating things on when there's not even a situation there. They're trying to create hostile conflicts. Like I was watching, just there was around there was a round of protest yesterday, and people were just milling about and not even bothering anybody, and they just went into the crowd and just started pushing people back and acting all tough and everything. So these are all problems. Like, it's a problem how they're recruiting people. It's a problem they're not screening people, and it's a problem that they're not giving them proper training. This is incompetence. It's the 3 systemic failures that are causing these issues. The result: armed federal agents with potential ideological bias against immigrants. When you hire and when you recruit and hire white supremacists, you might get some white supremacists out there enforcing laws, white supremacy. Inadequate training in constitutional rights, like this woman that is dead now. There's minimal oversight. These clown show walking around yesterday. They had no idea how to respond after or day before yesterday. And yesterday, they had no idea how to respond afterwards. Like, apparently they were wouldn't let emergency medical care. There was a doctor there that was like begging to look at her and take care of her, and like there was the ambulance like took 15 minutes to get there. All that's incompetence. They left the scene immediately. That's incompetence. They're being put, and you've got them. The whole thing compounded, where you're getting these people that mostly wouldn't have been hired anywhere else. They are not getting screened. They're failing their tests, their physical tests, their constitutional law tests, their immigration law tests, and they're still being hired, and they're being thrust out into the field with no training at all. Completely inadequate training. They're amplifying the situation, and they're making things worse. So is that on purpose? That's what I started wondering. Is this the goal? Is Donald Trump wanting to inflame people? Is he trying to instigate riots? Is this a bug or a feature? I'm really, like, it's hard to not think that might be the case. Like, you look at, they are 6 weeks of training. Chicago Police Department, you need a 25 weeks of training plus 1,000 hours of instruction. Over 1,000 hours of instruction. NYPD is 23 weeks, 950 hours of instruction. Traditional ICE, before Trump, it was 21 weeks of training. 12 weeks of CITP plus 15 weeks of specialized training. So this is less than a third of the training that ICE agents used to get before Trump. And you're putting them in these amplified situations, these hostile situations, where they are ginning up the hostility. The FBI takes 20 weeks of training, and you need to have a college degree, usually in something to do with law enforcement, plus you need 2 years of field experience. That's the minimum to get into the FBI Academy. That's 20 weeks. ICE, you need 6 weeks, 72% reduction from previous standards. So you're getting these people that would not have been hired before Trump. They would have been screened. They wouldn't have even been hired. Instead, they're getting less training, thrust out into a field where it's worse. And they're making it even worse. So is Donald Trump actually trying to make things worse? Is he trying to start riots? Is he trying to amplify things so that he can then sick the U.S. Army or sick the National Guard on people? Is that why he's sending more ICE agents to Minnesota afterwards? Is this all just a tyrannical overreach by Donald Trump? Is this planned? Or is this incompetence? Is he that stupid or is he that smart? That's what I keep wondering. Because 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks, that is not enough training. That's not enough training to do virtually any reasonable job that requires any skill at all. And you're giving these people guns and you're putting them in these high stress situations. And they're possibly, many of them could be filled with hate because that's who you recruited. That is the basis that you're using to recruit them. These people are going to steal your culture. Get rid of them. So I'm going to go through. There's a lot of comments here. Be prepared to be plunged into poverty like nothing else. I want to be wrong about the economy, but there is so much stupidity coming out of this administration right now. It seems like it's inevitable. Oh, you're talking to somebody else. That's how you doing, Blood Ink. Hey, I wasn't bad at my job. Like my last job, I currently trying to, make a living doing this. People are always asking, but before this, I was, like the Google Help Center articles. It actually takes quite a bit of, skill to learn that, and we'd hire, professional writers and technical writers, but even still, it would take about 2 months. And I knew, I worked my way up the ladder. I was the trainer. I trained people how to do this job. And on average, it would take about 6 to 8 weeks for most people to get through the training. And that was just to, learn how to write a help center article. Like nobody's going to get killed over that. And you've got people being trained how to control riots and detain immigrants and constitutional law and all of that kind of stuff in 6 weeks. And these are people that maybe, got their high school diploma from, whatever, if they have one. We don't even know what education they have. We don't know if they have criminal records because we're not even fingerprinting them. We don't know if they're on drugs because we're not giving them drug tests. All we know is that they responded to an ad that would have appealed to anybody that loved Hitler. Trump is not my daddy. And yeah. Okay, so yeah. Trump, I love my father. Don't compare him to Trump. This dude doesn't know. Okay. What do you know? Have you been through I know that 6 weeks is less than 21 weeks. I don't know anything about what ICE training is. I've never been through ICE training. I just know that 6 is a smaller number than 21. Do all liberals? I don't see anybody crying, and I mean, this is kind of the MAGA reflex. Have you noticed? They kick. It's like you hit the knee and they kick, and their kick is just go Tourette's insults on people instead of actually thinking about the facts and processing the facts and engaging on the facts. The reality is, Mr. Berger, the reality is that training has been reduced for ICE from 21 weeks to 6 weeks. And the escalation of what they're being asked to do has gone up. They're being asked to go out and arrest all of these people and do all these things that should require more training, not less training. We know that the standard for recruiting them has gone down. All of those things are facts. None of this has anything to do with whether I'm a liberal or whether I'm gay, or whether I'm crying. What I do know is that you seem to be incapable of actually processing a thought. There is no fraud that started all of this. The fraud that started all of this has been debunked. There was other cases of fraud. There were 3 cases of fraud, primarily, that were all prosecuted under Biden. Then Nick, don't call me Shirley, had this little film fiasco that ginned up all this excitement. You notice DHS has not confirmed anything that he said is true. And they went back and they've proven that all these places that he said were fraud and empty, they've proved all these places are actually legitimate daycare centers. So the fraud that started all this was Nick Shirley's video. And Epstein, yes, that's true. And I would also like to point out that we're still at war with Venezuela. We're still got this healthcare premium crisis going on. All this other stuff is happening, and it's like, and we're like threatening to go to war with Denmark over Greenland. You literally got fired for performance issues there. You sucked at your job, and it was, no, I didn't get fired at all. They'd laid off 2/3 of the team. And I got recruited. I got promoted 5 times in 4 years. I don't think people tend to promote people they think are terrible at their job. RVAR, the brainless. I tend not to stand in front of. I don't even like. One of my favorite things is that the way they make it sound like, like he was traumatized by this previous thing, and so like and it's so understandable that this is how he would react. Well, first of all, if you're going to overreact and murder somebody, you shouldn't be in the field. And secondly, if you're that traumatized by being dragged by a car, it's just plain stupid to stand in front of one. Steal your culture. What? That's what that's what the America First wing of the MAGA party or whatever, I don't know what to call it, but there's a bunch of people that want to act like, people that come in and eat tacos or whatever are trying to steal our culture. Biden didn't open the border. The ICE guy, ICE. Anyway, I think we should call them DEI hires. It's not incompetence. They don't care. That's why I say, is it a bug or a feature? I think there is a level of incompetence there, just in the fact that they're failing, like they don't know what immigration law is and they don't know what constitutional law is. Basic military training is only 6 weeks, dummy. That's actually not true. Your basic training is 6 weeks, but after you're done with your basic training, that's not counting your job training. And that's actually only for the Air Force that it's 6 weeks. I think it's longer for other services. It's just to basically get you in physical shape and learn how to take orders. That's not your job training. Your job training comes afterwards. I went through 6 weeks of basic, and then I went through 12 weeks of tech school, and then I was an airman basic, and then I started learning how to do my job. Also, they didn't give me a gun and tell me to go put down riots. Uh, uh, so, Mr. Nunny, do you have any actual substance to argue? Because this is, again, one of those things, like, this is what MAGAs do. They just come in and they insult, but they don't actually have any substance to their insults. They just think that yelling and hollering and name calling wins an argument. Luckily, no matter how bad it gets when you call your constitution into play, the states will unite and the federal government will be rebuilt. I'm wondering when the federal government is when Congress is going to show a spine. Watch any. We're not talking about that anymore. I worked for the federal government. What part? If you think about it, you go to the store just to get some stuff for yourself or something, and get something for your mom to eat or something like that. I'm sorry, I don't follow what that's referencing. The only problem is money. The only problem is money when you removed from the tax from the billionaires and corporations. In the 70s, you lost everything. There's an argument to be made there. Like when Reagan cut taxes, you go back to 1980 and you watch how wealth distribution is. If you go back like to 1980, 1980, well, 81. Since then, there's been a huge transition in wealth disparity between the top and the bottom. And I mean, progressive taxes, I know Republicans hate them. I know that's, in a lot of ways, maybe that's the cornerstone. And they've somehow managed to convince themselves that the reason that there are problems in this country is that rich people don't have enough money because the poor people are hoarding it all. They've literally got reality inverted. And now it's the immigrants. The immigrants are the reason. So that's why you end up with this. And these are the people that believe this kind of thing are the people that are joining ICE and being jammed through without any competence or training. And that's why you have situations like this. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I wonder if John Ross could effectively use a color by numbers book. Like, this is a guy that stood in front of a moving car. He stood in front of a moving car, and then he was shocked that it was moving. This guy does not sound like the brightest bulb in the box. He does not sound like his pumpkin was all the way filled. You're the one with the green screen. Who's yelling? I don't have a green screen. I'm not really yelling either. I'm just talking. Yeah, I'm the only one talking, but I'm reading your comments, A, and B, I'm actually not a pedophile. I don't have a green screen. I don't know what you're talking about. Dude is pathetic. This dummy is still yapping. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is when you present MAGAs with facts, all they have is just like, no, it isn't, and insults. Democrats always be yelling hypocrite 3 feet to the left. We have seen multiple angles. Yes. I mean, and this is why I say, and I'm 100% with you, Blood Inc. That if there were some hypothetical alternate universe where he had let her go and not shot her, and then they had detained her like 2 blocks away and then arrested her and charged her with attempted murder, not only would no jury have convicted her, no grand jury would have even subpoenaed her. You can see her, like, she's smiling, she's telling the guy, like, I don't want to have any problems with you or whatever. You can see in his own cell phone footage that she's steering her steering wheel away from him. Oh, name calling is a leftist idolism. You sure should understand constitutional law. Wow. Boy, that was, man, you zing me there, Fire Knight. You zing me there. When are you going to get up and shake that thing? Oh, I'm probably about the 2-hour mark. I'm a one-man operation here, and you gotta take care of the business. It's funny that the dead activist family member ever said she was. I don't know what that has to do with anything. What is your. Anyway, you seem like a lovely person. The video, we're not talking about we're talking about Ice. He was never hit by the car. I guess everybody's just going to talk about this guy anyway. He didn't have a body cam. It was his cell phone footage. Can you get that? Like, think about this. His cell phone footage was released. First of all, the cell phone footage does not show her hitting him. There is no visual evidence in that cell phone footage. But secondly, and I think this is really critically important distinction that you need to understand here. It was a cell phone footage, not a body cam. The only reason there is cell phone footage is that he was filming it on his cell phone. It's his cell phone footage. He's standing in front of the car. He's filming her on his cell phone. And he's like not paying attention to what is going on. He's surprised that the car starts moving at him. And you see him say, "Oh, like, whoa, a moving car." This is what I mean when I say incompetence. He was incompetent. Every law enforcement agent that has been through training will tell you that you shouldn't stand in front of moving cars. And honestly, most intelligent people, even a lot of stupid people, know you don't stand in front of moving cars. He walked in front of the moving car. So this gaslighting. Yeah, this guy. Oh, hey, actually, you've been back here a few times, right? The angry. Anyway, but I'm actually not. He was his cell phone. I don't know what. Anyway, whether he's clipped by the car or not is also irrelevant. All three of his shots. Let me see if I can find this. No. Would this be it? No, that's not it. Okay, let me. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. I'm just gonna see if I can find this. This image, because it shows exactly where he was standing. Here we go. All right, I'm going to try this one more time for the people with the MAGA hats on too tight. Okay. This right here, this image right here. This is the first shot. This is the second shot. This is the third shot. The first shot, you can see his feet to the left. The second shot, he's further to the left. This dumb shit still hasn't let go of the handle. And this one, he's firing point blank into her head through the side of the window. Okay. Now, to be clear, if he were standing in front of the vehicle and there was no way to move aside when he fired the shot, then it would be justified. If he had cleared his way, if he was able to clear out of the path of the vehicle, it would not be a justified shooting. But we don't even have to conjecture whether or not he could have cleared his way out of the path of the vehicle before he fired his first shot, because we can see quite clearly right here. These are his 2 feet. I hope you can see my cursor, but you can see those over by the front left tire. He is to the side of the car. And at that angle, he can very easily shoot through the windshield. Actually, he can shoot through the windshield a lot easier than he can shoot through the side window. That's the only way he can shoot her from that angle, is through the windshield. But he is not in the path of the car. It's like some people seem to think that the only way he could shoot through the windshield is if he was in the path of the car. But this quite clearly demonstrates that he was A, not in the way of the path of the car, and B, still shooting through the windshield. So all 3 shots, he was not in danger when he fired them. It does not matter if a second ago or 2 seconds ago he thought his life was in danger. When he was firing the bullets, it wasn't. This is like if somebody were to, like empty out their gun, like in like the best case scenario, which it wasn't. I don't agree with all of that. But if somebody were to shoot at you until their gun was emptied, and then when their gun was emptied, you shot them in self-defense, because the danger has passed at that point. It's not a justified shooting anymore. You can say while there were still bullets in the chamber, it would be a justified shooting. But once the gun is empty, once all the bullets have been discharged and there's no more danger, it is no longer a justified shooting. All 3 of his shots came after he was out of the path of the vehicle. All 3 times he shot her, she was not a danger to him. So all your talk about cell phone footage or this angle or that angle or everything, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't. It's not about what she did. It's not about why she was parked there. It doesn't, not about whether or not she got out of the car. It's not about whether or not she should have gotten out of the car. It's not about whether she was fleeing. None of those things warrant justifiable lethal force. There is a court history on this. There are several cases where different officers have tried this, and every time they are consistently knocked down. Once you are not in the path of the vehicle, it is not justified lethal force. This is the end of that conversation. 1, 2, 3. All 3 shots, he is not in the path of the vehicle. Thank you. And don't tell me, and I know that there's, even while I'm typing this, I can't see the comments, but I can just guarantee you there are people going, oh, he's a liar and he's a liar. And not one person, not one MAGA will have the integrity to address what I am saying, that he was to the left of the vehicle for all 3 shots. Yeah, he's why no, there was it was his cell phone. He wasn't wearing a body cam. He was filming it with his phone, which again is like, what on earth? Why is an ICE agent filming this with his phone? What is he, like, live streaming it to YouTube like some middle-aged idiot yelling from his recliner chair? I'm one. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I mean, his cell phone cam shows she didn't hit him. You are bloody. You are nobody like the rest of us. Who cares? I don't think I've ever said I was somebody. I'm not making any claims that I'm somebody. I am just a guy that has an opinion. Stop slurring, demitard. I'm not slurring, and I don't know what a demitard is. Why are you so upset about this? Why are you so upset about this? ICE agents aren't cops. I know. ICE agents actually do have a higher standard. Department of Homeland Security is this. There is first of all, you can't there's 2 things they say. that you can't fire into can't fire at somebody in a vehicle that unless they have a weapon other than the vehicle, or if that vehicle is being used as a weapon and there is no other defensive maneuvers available, which include getting out of the pathway of the vehicle. So according to DHS policy, actual DHS policy, and you can see here that he is out of the path of the vehicle for all 3 shots. So according to DHS policy, he is this is not a justified shooting. All MAGAs are billionaires. They're wannabe billionaire simps. Yeah, this is she had, there's the talk about how she was, why was she there? She was following people around. She had just dropped her kid off from school. And apparently she was like, she had gone down that street and all the ICE agents were there. And then she was just trying to turn around. She wasn't like parked in the middle of the street perpendicular. She saw all the ICE agents. And then so she was trying to turn around and go away. She didn't realize there was going to be some sort of thing there. And then so she was getting out, or she was just turning around to leave. And then she was waving the ICE agents past. You see a couple of them go past. And then these other guys, these DE ICE agents, these DE ICE hires, get out of their car and they're like yelling at her to do different things. And then they kill her. I don't know who's not an American. He's not on the hood of the vehicle for 1 shot. But even if he is, he put himself on the hood of the vehicle. And you can see his feet there. So if his feet are there, if his feet are on the left, he could have moved out of the way instead of leaning over and trying to shoot her. Like, it's not whether or not he did get out of the way of the vehicle. It's whether or not he could get out of the way of the vehicle. Are these his feet? Do you see that? I don't know if you see my cursor because I can't see it from your side. But his feet are right there. Ergo, he was not in the path of the vehicle. All he had to do was just stand up. Officer Tatum has one video where it clearly shows she was again, this clearly shows that he was not getting hit while he was shooting her. He is out of the path of the vehicle. If first shot is justified, then 2 and 3 fall under threat assessment time. No, they actually don't. This has actually already been heard. So I mean, there are actual court cases here, but no, that's not what you're saying is not true. It's just not. And all 3 shots, like honestly, do you think that when he fired this shot number 3, right into the side of her head, that he was worried about his life? How can you say that? Like, just as a human being, forget about being MAGA, forget about being a Dem or a libtard or even an undocumented migrant or whatever. How can you look at that as a person that has like family and people that love you and people you love? If that were your wife or your spouse or your child in the car, that is straight up murder, dude. That is a point blank shot into the side of the head. And by the way, there was another person in the car with her. And he could have just as easily killed her too. This is nothing. This is nothing but pure malice and murder. Guy struggles to read 8-word sentences. LMAO. Is that this guy struggles to read 8-word sentences? So I got you. Did anyone notice that the problem is with the 8-word sentences is that they're not really sentences. And so I have to translate from MAGA to English most of the time. But in your case, it was like a reasonably cogent sentence. Did anyone else notice that he refused to show his source information? Yes. I mean, I'm trying to get away from whether or not she hit him because I think it's all irrelevant. And this is we need to understand it is not about what she did. It is about what he did. And what he did is he shot her 3 times after the vehicle was past him. I'm definitely slurring. Well, I don't know how you hear slurring. I haven't had a drink in since September. Gay Mook liberal host is retarded at best. Well, that's the kind of cogent response I expect from a MAGA. Look, even if she did threaten him, he probably shouldn't have chased after the car and shot her. And none of this would have happened if ICE wasn't out in the streets. And that's true too. And that's going back to, thank you for this book, because this is actually the whole point that I'm trying to bring up. Going back to this. Let's go back to this. So by the numbers. Where do we go? So by the numbers, they received 220,000 ICE applications. They hired 10,000, which is more than double what they had. So more than half the ICE agents there are right now have been there less than a year. Workforce growth, 120% in just 4 months. 72% reduction. 33% of them fail the fitness test, and 50% of them fail the open book law test. It's an open book test. How can anybody fail an open book test? Much less 50%. So these are stupid, unphysically fit, poorly trained people who were basically recruited on hate and hired based on hate. When, going back to the whole DHS using the, Hitler slogans to hire people. So this goes back to, the whole 9/11 thing where we were, it's all an overcompensation for what happened on 9/11. So in 2006, there was a surge to hire a bunch of border control people and added 6,000 agents. And it was a similar type thing where there were some issues that were raised because of that. From 2008 to 10, they hired and they trained. The hiring and training standards were lowered. Shortcuts taken to meet regressive recruitment goals. Misconduct arrests arise. Corruption cases increased, including agent working with cartels to smuggle drugs. 2012 GAO report documents problems. Infiltrators pursuing employment solely to engage in mission compromising activity. Well, that's interesting. So there's a history of this, right? And as you can see, this started in 2006 and went on through 2012. So started under Bush and continued under Biden, where it got stopped eventually. But this is not, I think sometimes people always go, well, what about Biden this? Or what about, Obama that? I am not above criticizing Obama or Biden for doing the same things that Trump does. But I'm not going to excuse Trump for doing the same things that people criticize Biden and Obama for. And what this is this, what we're doing now is what happened in 2006 through 2012 on steroids. ICE hiring surge begins, same pattern, standards lowered, training cut by 72%, aggressive tie-line, ideological recruitment, and then just spraying the hose out onto everything. There are, with these massive deployments of ICE agents and doing these massive roundups and stuff like that. All of that is just stirring the pot. And my my thinking, I cannot get away from this, is that stirring the pot is the goal. It's not to get immigrants. It's not to deport immigrants. Did you know that we've only deported 50,000 immigrants in the last year? Did you know, or in the last 6 months? Like, the actual number of deportations has not gone up. What has gone up is the number of arrests. But the number of actual deportations has not significantly changed. And on top of that, the number of people who are actual criminals, like the worst of the worst, that's actually gone down. We've gotten worse at rounding up the bad ones, as Trump would like to say. The percentage of the bad ones that we've got, it's only like 20% or something. I don't remember the exact percentage off the top of my head, and it kind of changes by the day anyway. But we are not getting the bad ones. We're just getting anybody, and we're arresting them, and we're arresting people in line to try to get legal immigration status. We're getting people trying to do things the right way. We're changing people's legal status and then arresting them for being here legally. We're going after people that are here illegally, but not doing anything illegal other than being here. We're not going after the rapists and the murderers. We're not making America safer. We're making America less safe. All of this, to me, I can't help but think, is it intentional? Is this on purpose? Is this what Trump wants to do? Does he want to sow chaos? Does he want to sow division? Because you've got people up in my comments here that like have all kinds of anger issues, apparently, about all of this. They're all upset. So is that on purpose? Is this a bug or a feature? Only difference she made was giving liberals like this guy a reason to talk and push. You see, this is what I mean. Like, what is the point of this comment? In case you don't understand, 100% of illegally. No, okay, but I don't know if you're intentionally or unintentionally dismissing what Trump said. Trump said he was only going to go after the bad ones. He was not sitting there saying he's going to deport he specifically made this nuance. He said he was only going to go after the bad hombres. So you can make this distinction now and say, oh, they're all here illegally. They're all criminals, which is fine. You know, you can make that argument. But that's not what Donald Trump ran on. That's not what Donald Trump said. And it is the opposite of what Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump is only going after the ones who aren't bad. And you can say, well, it's about law. It's about the legality. But when you're going after people that are going through the legal process, going through the legal process, you can't say it's not about legality. When you had people that came over here legally, and they're over here legally, and then you take away their legal status, that's not about the legal process. Like, I'm asking you to please think honestly and to please respond honestly. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to consider that if it's about the legality of people being here, why are you just pulling the rug out from people that are here legally? So, okay, really? I'm twisting around and not speaking facts, but you're just throwing around accusations without any proof too. I'm the best interior decorator ever in history. I'm also an athlete and a super genius. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Oh, and he's also he's a boat architect, I guess. He knows the best battleships, how to make them look prettier, and planes. Making America Safer takes courage. ICE agents aren't the courageous type. They don't seem like it. That's why they like empty their guns into a woman's head because she's driving a car. Bro, post the link. The link to the dashboard I'm looking at. Okay. I don't know if it'll work or not. I think so. But if it'll. That's a link to the dashboard I'm looking at. Okay. I don't care about Trump or what he says. Every illegal alien needs to be deported. Okay, but you're not answering my question. What do you say about the ones that are here legally and they have their status taken away? Like, did they do anything wrong? If it's about the legality for you, you keep like ignoring this question. What do you say about having that legal status removed? Is that okay with you? If it's about the legality, then why are you okay with the legality being stripped away? If somebody did everything the right way and they're here having done things the right way, have they done anything wrong? Do you live in Bangladesh? Do your own research. I think you probably have Google in Bangladesh. You libs are just ridiculous, just like. What am I lying about? Please tell me. If I'm like, I have said on this show, somebody has pointed out I was wrong about something. If somebody proves me wrong about something, I go, okay, and I learn. I'm not here just to yell my opinion, though it may seem like that, because what happens is we get a bunch of obdurate knuckleheads that refuse to listen. But if I'm actually wrong about something, if you have a factual counterpoint to make, then I'm happy to hear it. I would love to learn. Honestly, I think there was some contact. There was some kind of contact between the car and the guy, it looks like. But that contact to me looks like he initiated. It looks like and the one of the people that watched it live, that actually watched it happen and wasn't like dealing with grainy videos and stuff, she says he threw himself on the hood of the car and then pointed his gun and shot her. And that's, like the one picture right here. I think that's what you see right there is him, like throwing himself on the roof of the car. That actually explains why his feet would be to the left of it and you'd still see the shot. I think that is the most consistent narrative with what we've seen, is that he threw himself at the car. And that explains also why the physics are what they are, where he's like leaning forward instead of being propelled backwards. If he were to hit this car at this high speed, at a high enough speed, why didn't he get moved backwards by it? I'm not sure what anybody is twisting. I think I'm making straight. You make your actual name liberals suck and think for even a moment you aren't a brainwashed member of a cult. It's literally your whole identity. Well, this is a fair point. The trolls went away. Yeah, for the most part. I think sometimes you can get a little progress with them. So, Brett, hey, Brett, you done with work yet? Someone probably reported the core account and they all went down simultaneously. Ooh, that's a thought. Somebody tripped over the extension cord at in Moscow, and all the MAGA bots went away. If MAGA put the kind of effort they did into making 50 BY accounts attack a chat, you think they would have the smarts to realize they are inhuman. He took it like a man. The contact was his cell phone hitting the ground. Yeah, that's a fair point. That's when cell phones hit the ground, they tend to make noise. The most telling thing to me about that was like right when she started to move forward, and like you could like and he says something like, well, there's two telling things. One is you can see her very, very clearly steering away from him, like she's like doing the hand over hand steering wheel thing. The other thing is the way he's like, oh, like he's so shocked by the fact that this woman in the car is like moving. Like, how stupid do you have to be to stand in front of a car and film it with your cell phone and then be surprised it moves? This man is not the brightest bulb in the box. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. He's not even the sharpest spoon in the drawer. He walked into the car with his weapon already drawn. Yeah, that's what I think. He hit the car. The car did not hit her. And you can see that even while there was one shot that showed he was like grabbing for his gun while the taillight was still on. And like whether or not there was contact and all of that and who initiated it, that's why I'm pointing out like it's all kind of irrelevant, because he didn't actually fire his weapon until he was clear of the path of the vehicle. So, and whether or not he was like, how he was situated at that moment is all irrelevant, because he could have been in the time he was like taking to draw his weapon while she was still backing up. He could have just like been out of the way of the vehicle, and he could have just like not been an idiot recording the whole thing with his camera. If their status was removed, I would ask why. I did concrete with the guy who's if their legal status, because Donald Trump like just took away like 1.56 million people's legal status. Like everybody that had like TPS status and stuff. Like they were just arbitrarily. It's not a case by case basis. And the ones that are like under review and stuff, when they go to ICE to have their case heard, or go to immigration court to have their case heard, ICE is waiting for them and like apprehending them to stop them from going through the legal process. Do you think that all of these protests are literally just about being mad that ICE is doing their jobs? Nobody was protesting that when Biden was president. Biden actually deported more people than Trump did. Obama deported people and nobody protested. And people are like, oh, you were okay when Obama did it or when Biden did it. And we're all okay with people that aren't here legally being deported. That's not the issue. That's what we're trying to tell you, is Trump is doing something differently. It's not he's doing what Trump and Biden did. We don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with somebody not here legally being deported. I have problem with people not here legally being sent off to die in an El Salvador torture prison. I have a problem with building concentration camps to detain them in. I have a problem with people that are here legally having their legal status snatched away. I have a problem with people that went through everything to become a naturalized citizen and being told that all of a sudden they can't do that because Donald Trump said so. You're from the wrong country. And so we just decided you're not allowed to naturalize anymore, even though you've gone through all the process. You've done everything right and you've done everything by the law. But now we're just going to change what that means. We're going to change what the law is. That I have a problem with. And I wonder, do you have a problem with that? If you're If you're worried about the legal status, why aren't you worried about it both ways? All we're saying is that Donald Trump should follow the law. Stops two and shots 2 and 3 were already when she was gone away, and both of those that you like. There was a case where somebody continued firing after a car had left, after he was out of the path. Like the first shot was in the path, and the second and third shots were not in the path. And there was a case that was heard. I can't remember the name of it, but I kind of went through and looked at the case history here because there's actually more cases about this kind of thing than you might think. Anyway, once you are no longer in danger, it is not legal to keep shooting somebody. And I think that the good comparison is like if somebody were shooting a gun at you, you would be fully justified to shoot back. Once they run out of bullets and they're no longer a threat. Once they run out of bullets, they're not a threat. So if they're sitting there and they're pulling the trigger and just making clicking sounds, you can't shoot them and say it's justified force. If bullets are coming out of the guns, it's justified. But once they're out of ammo, it's not justified anymore. If the car is coming straight at somebody and they can't move out of the way, then it's justified. But if they can move out of the way and be out of the way, it's not justified. And if they got out of the way after the first shot and then kept firing when they were out of the way, it's no longer justified. You're a funny dude. I don't know. I don't recognize the name Liberals Suck 74. So I'm going to give you a pass on this one. But just so you know, we do not entertain the war on apostrophes here. All right? It's YOU''RE. If you're going to insult me, please do it grammatically correct. Ukrainian kinetic sanction on Moscow's power grid. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Yeah, I'm done. All right. 70 chat names just disappeared instantly and simultaneously. 131. Yeah, that's crazy. I noticed that there was like we were like at a bunch and then we weren't. The bots are gone. But actually maybe that's good. It seems like we're able to have more of a conversation when it's not like inundated with bots. What's funnier is your blind devotion to a political party that doesn't care about you. Hang on, I'm going to check something here. That's an interesting. Yeah. I'm looking at my YouTube thing, and it's just like all of a sudden, I went from like 50. Yeah. In just a couple of minutes, I went from like 100 some people to I had went from 66. Anyway. All right. People think I'm a liberal. People also think I'm a conservative. I'm neither, but I definitely hate MAGA, and that's a strong statement because I don't want to hate anyone, but damn. I get tired of words like liberal and conservative at this point. I was like that younger in my life, but I was naively like that. I don't know how to put it. I wish we could, and you've heard me talk about this before. I wish we could talk about policy. I wish we could talk about issues instead of liberal or conservative and just knee-jerk defending of whatever position our side has. There's different things. I'm talking about a number of things. What I know is he's made it almost impossible to come over here illegally if you have skim payment. I mean, even let me show you this. Let me see here. Maybe I didn't download this. Anyway, can't find it. But there's even like oh, here, and that's what I can do. I know where it is. Let me share this with you. So this is the Trump administration's visa bond policy requires deposits of up to 15,000. This is a new policy that even to get a business visa or a tourist visa from 38 different countries, you need a bond policy from up to from $5,000 to $15,000, and depending on where you're at, 28 of these are in Africa. And allegedly, this is because people come over here on tourist visas and overstay their visas. But it's made it almost impossible for almost anybody in Africa to even come over here on a tourist visa. If you're in Nigeria, that's 5.7 years of your annual salary. Bangladesh, it's 12.5 years of your annual salary. See, there you go. There's a Bangladesh for you, Brett. 12.5 years of your annual salary. Zambia, 14.3 years of annual salary. So if you wanted to just bring a family of 4 over here, then you have to put up $60,000 in bond. And so you can say, well, it's because they're going to have, they're trying to stem people overstaying their visas. But what you're doing is basically making it impossible for anybody to come over, because most families in Nigeria don't have $60,000. And that actually hurts America, because that hurts tourism. Like, people can't come over here as tourists. Cops are allowed to shoot a fleeing subject if they believe they are a danger to a public. No, they are not. That's all very no, this is not true. There's actually case histories on this where people where they've tried to use this. Like, if somebody is speeding and getting away, you can't shoot them based on the threat that maybe they might cause an accident 2 miles down the road. It has to be an immediate and legitimate threat. Just that this woman was just trying to get away. There was no, and if you watch the video, she's not like some terrorist like they're trying to make her out to be. I mean, this is all it's all sort of weird, for lack of a better word. It's all kind of weird how the right is just made this woman out to be some kind of monster and like disassociate her at all from being an actual human being. But no, she was not some wild maniacal threat driving down the road recklessly making pedestrians careen off her car or something. Well, but maybe the ICE officer shouldn't have been first of all, she was giving conflicting orders. They were giving her conflicting orders. Some of them were telling her to leave, and some of them were telling her to get out of the car. That's number one. Number two, there was no legal justification to detain her. Number three, it specifically states in DHS policy that you can't use lethal force to prevent somebody from fleeing the scene. And number four, she wasn't using it as a weapon or a battering ram. And DHS policy says if you can get out of the way, you should. He literally did the opposite. He walked into it. No, it's not, dude. Just saying the same thing over and over again doesn't make it true any more than that emoji makes you Batman. No. Anyway. Joe Biden wasn't stripping away people's legal status. MAGA keeps saying a vehicle is a weapon. Yeah, he might have gotten tapped on the knee, but he's so tough he could walk it off. So it's a pistol, which he used on her 100%. And again, like I keep saying, even if it were a weapon, even once that weapon is no longer a threat, it's no longer justified to use lethal force. So I agree with you, Brett, that, it was never a weapon. But even if it was a weapon, it was not a weapon when he discharged his firearm. Yes, because having a gun in hand and trying to force your enemy and trying to force your way into a car of a woman who was at least at the time doing absolutely nothing wrong is 100% peaceful. Especially when you've got, this history of ICE agents illegally detaining American citizens for 24, 48, 72 hours, you know. And she didn't do anything illegal. You do not have to legally get out there was, sorry, getting myself all worked up. If a police officer comes up to you and says, "Show me your ID," you don't have to show them your ID if you're not doing anything legal. They have to have grounds to do that. If a police officer tells you to get out of your car, you don't have to do that. Now, her wife had spoken smack to the police officer, to this ICE officer. And these ICE officers have very, very thin skin. They maybe we should call them snowflake officers instead of ICE. Now I am. Maybe we should call them snowflake officers instead of ICE officers. Because they're snowflakes and they get really triggered really, really easily. And so the woman talked smack to her, talk smack to them. And that's why they wanted to detain her. Let's be honest. They got exposed as a bunch of sackless little goons. And so they had to show how big and tough they were. And you can tell that from the film, even because after he shot her, what did he say? Anybody know? I can't say it on a monetized channel, but look it up if you don't know. That was not an act of self-defense. That was an act of revenge. You can tell it by the words he used and by the tone he used. Not one bit of concern for her. It was more like a victory dance. Yeah, come at us, big boy. And you know what? Saying come at us, big boy, is 100% thoroughly legal. You can't shoot somebody for saying come at us, big boy. That's not grounds for lethal force. That's murder. If you're saying that they got what was coming to them because they said come at us, big boy, unless you're saying that, unless you're agreeing with me. But yeah, either way, they have the federal. No, they don't. You can't arrest somebody that hasn't done anything illegal. And she was not being reckless and a danger to the public. Dude, you really don't know what you're talking about. Licking boots speaks coward ICE. They have jurisdiction over civilians. They have no jurisdiction over civilians. Correct. And they're not like police officers. And this is where I go back to the training and to the constitutional law and the fact that they failed their constitutional law test. They don't know what they are doing. They don't know that they don't have that authority. She was a lawyer. She knew more than they did what the law is. She didn't accelerate into a federal agent. If you watch the video carefully, she was not accelerating until after he fired his gun. So the acceleration that happened, she was just moving the car slowly. If she were like driving into him at, with the accelerator stopped, the physics of the whole thing would have changed dramatically. He would have been thrown back. He wouldn't have, like stepped to the side and shot her in the head. That's not how physics work. The car weighs more than he does. And, what is it? Mass times acceleration or something, the basic laws of physics, he would have been thrown away from the car, not into it. ICE agents were emboldened. Yes, and that's part of the problem is they've been recruited this way. They've been recruited not in spite of their love for Hitler and all things white supremacist, but because of it. And then it's been overlooked in their screening, and then it's been ignored in their training. You don't get to shoot a woman driving away from you, right? When did police brutality become celebrated? When it was because Trump said it was okay. Exactly. Boy, you talk about the feds, but don't take 2 looks at state cops. I have no idea what you're talking about or what you're. I'm not. I'm talking about a specific ICE officer that shot a specific woman. MAGA is MAGA is when brutality became celebrated. Unless you're trying to break through a window on January 6th and you're trying to kill the vice president, in which case the brutality is the person trying to defend the vice president of the United States. And then the person trying to kill him is the hero. In the corrupted states, it's out of bleeping control. Some of the agents better become whistleblowers because I'm saying if I'm, like if I were the Democratic candidate for the next, in 2028, I run on 2 things. Number one, I run on abolishing ICE. I think that everything ICE does doesn't need ICE to do it. Like we can go back to the way things were before 2000. We don't need ICE. And now what ICE has become so corrupted that it's counterproductive. There are legitimate functions ICE does other than this, but we can come up with something else or pass those back to the people they used to be. We don't need this gaggle of thugs running around murdering citizens in the streets. I would say I would get rid of ICE, and number 2, I would say on day 1 I'm gonna appoint a special prosecutor to look into every single crime that Trump and his administration have done and enabled. I would prosecute the hell out of this administration. And with Biden, he didn't want to be political, but this is political. At this point, it's just purely political. It is. You can't make something political that's already political. And the fact that it's this political is part of the crime. So, that's like not prosecuting murder because you don't want people to get killed or something. I don't know. That didn't make sense, but you don't want to prosecute murder because people might get killed. What did I miss? Trump doesn't even hire Americans to make his kids. And his dad didn't either. That's a good one. Isn't Tiffany's mom American? I wouldn't be surprised. Well, but he doesn't remember Tiffany anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if this administration has already built a file on her son as a potential terrorist. Yeah, the 6-year-old. I'm sure the wife is going to be prosecuted for being part of Antifa before long. Simple answer is not to stop being an American with a First Amendment. That's not a simple answer. That's North Korea. All right. I know a lot of people that are very, very intelligent. I have a friend, I'm not kidding. He got a PhD from physics in Harvard. And one time we were having a conversation and he calculated the weight of the earth in his head and then made some other calculations in his head. He calculated the weight of the earth in his head and he like added up the numbers and stuff out loud. And he was definitely a smarter man than me. And he thinks IQ is stupid. I've never met an intelligent person that has any regard at all for IQ. All citizens should give into the oppression. No, thank you. I saw that too. All schools are closed for about a week in Minnesota because of it. And this disrupts all kinds of things, right? And, you know, I have family there. I have one of my brothers has one kid still in school, and the other one still has two kids still in school. Bootlickers can move to North Korea and live under a good king. Donald Trump loves him. Why wouldn't they want to go there? Only bad thing to happen to Renee family was the. I can tell that your mom probably doesn't brag about you very much. MAGA makes things true just because they say so. They do. That's like, and they'll come back after, and they'll be like, you know, like if you talk about masks now, they were proven right. If you talk about vaccines now, they were proven right. If you talk about January 6th, they were proven right. If you talk about whether the election was stolen, they were proven. They just like sit there and they just repeat the same stupid argument over and over and over again. They never hear anything. They never think about it. They never process it, and then they remember that they won. They just drive into stupidity. They build a home there. They raise their kids there, and they just double down there. They order food from stupid restaurant, and they eat all their. They watch stupid streaming on stupid TVs, and they just like become first class idiots and live in stupid town, and they think that everybody else is not in reality. Hey, being engineer doesn't mean anything beyond your job. Well, without engineers, how would engines be able to hear? You know, it's funny how they like. It's always like, what does, you know, if anyway, what does being an engineer have to do with anything? Fauci should be arrested. Apparently, yes, that's another one. Very, very strong opinions about Dr. Fauci. Drinks pee with ice. It means my understanding of physics is beyond yours. Well, it might be, but that doesn't mean that when a big 5,000 pound object collides with a 200,000 object, that the 2,000, when a 5,000 pound object collides with a 200 pound object that's trying to move away, then it's going to be flung backwards, the 200 pound object. You might know more about physics than me, but I know enough about physics to know about that. I know that that's how things work. Okay. So what I hear you saying is that you actually got called to the carpet on your stupid, and you're just like refusing to acknowledge that. If the IH agents was a part, I mean, like, you go out and just do this, do me a favor, Go out and step in front of a moving car and you tell me whether you move or whether the car moves. You probably got you're probably good at special awareness math and a lot of useful things, but it doesn't make you political educated. And sometimes, like, I've had people that will be like, one time, a guy that authentically knows a lot about, like, he's got a master's degree in it, done it for his whole career, made very good money at it, and like HVACs. And we were talking about climate change, and he's like, "I know this stuff. I do it for a living." And it's like, no, doing like indoor climate is nothing to do with outdoor climate. Like, it's not at all the same thing. But yeah, that's one of the things MAGAs like to do, is like pretend expertise in one area projects to expertise on another area, including, by the way, running a business and running a country, which are not the same thing. I wanted to wish them goodbye and tell them to their hopefully he won't step in front of any moving cars. Well, dude, say what you want. The person that was an eyewitness to the whole thing that says she saw him throw himself onto the car and really doesn't seem to have any political bent in this. But there were actual people there, like all the people there, all the eyewitnesses, other than the ICE agents, everybody else there says he threw himself at her, like that she was not trying to kill him. The other officers that were there, they did not pull for their guns and try to shoot at her because they didn't think she was trying to hit him. The only one that thought maybe that she was trying to hit him was him, and that's because he was too busy being stupid, walking in front of a car and filming it on his phone when he should have been paying attention to what he was doing. That's what I'm saying. Incompetence. There is no way that you can convince me that the right place for him to be was in front of the car, which he walked in front of while she was backing up, by the way. Like, you want to make it out about what she did. He shot her. It's about what he did. Why was he standing there? I don't know, but I hope they can get the case. With FBI, like, they can still follow an adjacent case, but it's going to be hard to prosecute without getting access to the vehicle for forensics and stuff. But yeah, I would love to see what angles like what with the bullets, where did they go in? I would love to see the medical report on this guy. And like, there's previous court hearings, they've said, or court cases on this, if a car is going less than 5 miles an hour, it's not considered a threat. It's not. She wasn't, even if she was going at him and trying to hit him, she was not going fast enough for her to be a threat, because she was going slow enough for him to move out of the way. Again, this is about what he did, and what he did when, if you want to say that she hit him with a car, even if I semantically just give you that part of the argument, even though I don't agree with it, but just semantically concede that he could have moved out of the way. So at that point, it's his fault. Yeah, I mean, if he honestly thought she was trying, this is another one of those things where I feel like logic has to come in. If somebody is trying to hit you with a car and you pull your gun and you shoot them, do you diminish the chances of being hit by that car if you're still standing in front of the car? Are you improving your chances of getting hit by the car or making it harder to get hit by the car? Because Probably what's going to happen is if you shoot her and kill her, then just in her death, she's going to spasmodically punch on the accelerator, right? Like that's the way things work. And so at least there's a good chance of that. It may be why she, like the video shows she accelerated, was that after he shot, that the shot actually caused the car to accelerate. Like in her death spasms, she punched on the accelerator. If you're standing in front of a car that's just barely moving, and your first reaction is to pull out your gun and shoot the person, that's a dumb reaction. My first reaction is to get out of the way of the car. Sadly, he probably is. At least Chauvin. I want him to be next to Chauvin in jail. Okay, so this guy, hey, do you think you could maybe, instead of just insulting people's intelligence, respond to the substance of the conversation? And just, instead of just saying you know more, actually contribute to the conversation? I don't know that name, but I might have been pushing through live streams on my break today, maybe yesterday. Oh. Brett's awesome. Is that... There's a friend of mine, Brett, that he made a wooden bicycle that your emoji kind of reminds me of for some reason. I'm going to move to Minnesota after graduation. I'm not letting sad ICE officers scare me away from the place I love. I'm going to be who I am. In the place I love, with the woman I love. It'll be great. I hope you the best, man. I hope you the best. Is it okay? Anyway, you're going to move there? It's not like ICE is going to avoid anywhere. Minnesota is a really great place to live, outside of the, occasional murdering of innocent people. No, it didn't. I mean, it accelerated like very slowly. It was only going like 2 miles an hour. You can like, this made up fiction stuff is like, and he should have just moved out of the way, dude. He should have never moved in the way. Yeah, I saw that too. There was a defense lawyer that said he wouldn't even take this ICE agent's case. Well, and this, the moral of the story to me is actually train officers don't recruit racists and idiots. Like, again, let's go back this. Oh, wait, let me go back to this one. So, Minneapolis, ICE agent shoots and kills Renee Good. Portland yesterday, the 2 more people. And this one we're not talking enough about. But like, does anybody really believe? And I mean, they're claiming these 2 people in Portland were just they were part of a targeted stop. And so they went to this hospital parking lot in the middle of an afternoon, and they targeted this cartel agent. What does it say? Hang on. Border Patrol shoots 2 people during what DHS calls a targeted traffic stop in a hospital parking lot. The Portland chief of police doesn't even know who they are. And I'm just wondering, if it was truly targeted, why doesn't local law enforcement know who they are? Why don't they have any warrants? Why were these 2 people able to just like leave without being stopped? Why is it just like apparently a couple of Border Patrol agents doing the whole thing? Like, why are they just, why wasn't there anybody else involved? Why didn't they have any backup? Why wasn't the rest of the parking lot closed off? Why is it that nobody followed them? They got home 15 minutes away and made a phone call, but this was a targeted stop. Where's the warrant? Like, if there's a target, you knew who they were in advance, right? That's what targeted means. It just seems like another case to me of DHS lying through their teeth. Just like this notion that she's a terrorist, that Nicole Good is a terrorist. Like, that's where you start losing, like, even if you had some kind of thing about the whole, sorry, my brain has dropped. About whether or not the car made contact with him or whatever and all of that. But then you start saying she's a terrorist. Like, really? You think she's a terrorist? Because you could be faster than a car that can. Yes, you can move out of the way of a moving car. Happens all the time. He actually did move out of the way of the moving car. And if he had been paying attention to it, he would have. Like, it's not like you make it sound like she was going 75 miles an hour or something. She was barely moving. I mean, can you have some integrity and honesty in this? Can you, like, she could easily speed up? Like, come on. He didn't even try to get out of the way. You don't, and again, there's legal precedent for this. There's all kinds of laws. He is the police officer. He's the one that's supposed to be in charge of, de-escalating it, not whipping out his gun before she even put the car in drive, by the way, and just shooting her in the head 3 times. Kelly got the best nonchalant burns. The thing is, I don't even know when I do it. I'm not sure which one that was. Say what you want. That bleep still bleep when she's against the. Well, that's whether you want to say it's against the law or not is, again, moot. Murder is also against the law. And when you use lethal force and it's not justified, another word for that is murder. Multiple legal analysts even broke down that it's not. Well, I don't know what multiple legal analysts you're talking to, but I've seen multiple legal analysts break it down and say that there is not justifiable. I've seen DHS agents say it's not justifiable. So, and left-leaning judges or whatever. See, this is the toxic dribble that comes out of MAGA and prevents being able to have honest conversations. I'm talking about the law, and you're talking about some sort of Newsmax interview you watched. I am telling you what the actual law is. She is not a good person. How do you know what kind of person she is, Dylan? And she didn't put herself in that situation. ICE put her in that situation. ICE got out of their cars. ICE gave her conflicting instructions. All she was trying to do is turn around. She didn't put herself in any situation. They put her in the situation. And then they killed her. And now you're blaming her for them killing her. I don't think Dylan is a good person. I think his mom probably gets embarrassed. They're like, "Oh, how's Dylan doing?" And she's like, "I don't want to talk about it." Do you still get allowed to, are you still invited home for Thanksgiving, Dylan? Are you the guy? Are you the guy that, everybody talks about? I can't deal with Dylan anymore. I just, you know, every time we try to have dinner, he's got to bring up Trump. Hi, did you talk about the cell phone? Yeah, we talked about the cell phone video and how everybody in Magaland keeps thinking that it's like a body cam. And which to me is like the fact that he was filming it on his cell phone just amplifies the incompetence. Can you imagine if you got pulled over for a speeding ticket and the cop comes up there and like, let me see your driver's license, and they're sitting there filming it with their cell phone? Why is he filming this whole thing with his cell phone? Is he live streaming it? Is he like a YouTube wannabe like me? Like, all right, I mean, I am admittedly not in the best situation to talk trash about this, but at least I'm not like shooting people right now. What is he filming it for? See, so now you've just got to make these racist innuendos and stuff. What does that have to do? See, you are not capable of an honest comment there, Mr. Haley, whatever you are. Dude, you see the tires spin on the ice. That's the only reason. Oh, no, blah, blah, blah. Her ex and her. Have you ever lived in Minnesota? Have you ever been to Minnesota? I lived there for a good number of years. And if Rainbow Kitty is still in here. No, if you've ever lived in Minnesota, if you've ever actually driven in snow, that's crap. Her ex and her current lover say she was the most kind human being. And yeah, I mean, and even she was being nice to the ICE agent. Now, admittedly, her girlfriend or her wife was talking trash to them, but she was being nice to them. She actually was very friendly to them, and she was smiling at them. Hey, reunion. It's like, cheers, Norm. Dude, that is the opposite of what every single cop has said about it. There are people that recount stories about how they did that when they were on their first job and they were told not to. No, you do not go in front of a car that you think is going to leave and try to stop it, because you're not going to be able to stop it. You are just quantifiably dumb for that comment. You're on timeout. So now we got Somalians into this. Hi. Sorry, doing a lot today, helping my mom out. I hope you're having an amazing day, Rainbow Kitty. Oh, by the way, I didn't end up going through the DEI stuff yesterday, which is why you don't see any clips on that abstemium. It was too hard to change directions. When a person is confronted like, that by multiple agents, adrenaline takes hold of the body, and there's only two outcomes: fight or flight. The human mind does not think in those situations. And that's, I think, a valid point. And I think it's one that even isn't been discussed on the news. Everybody's talking about what he's thinking. Well, what is she thinking? Especially, I've seen some Facebook posts like this. First of all, this is a woman that an unarmed woman, and she's being accosted by four men. One of them is trying to like open her car door. They're telling her to do different things. They're yelling at her. I don't think that she thought, I'm going to try and run over this guy. There's nothing to indicate that. And you can see through the window from his cell phone footage that she is steering the steering wheel away from him. So like little Mr. Wheel spinning guy, she was trying to steer away from him based on that footage. What do you think of that, Mr. Wheel spinning guy? Regarding the woman being shot, you're not presenting our side of the argument very well. I'm trying to avoid that. Like I do not think that she was trying to hit him. I'm just trying to for logical reasons, even if you concede every single argument that they are making. This is all I'm trying to say. Even if they were right, and they're not right. They're absolutely not right, and it doesn't get anywhere to point that out to them. But the point is that even if they were right, they're still wrong about their conclusion. Even if they were right about her trying to hit him, even if they were right about her having hit him, and they are not right about that, it still wouldn't matter because it's still not legal for him to shoot her if he was clear of the path of the vehicle. And this is like a common MAGA thing that I struggle with, is that they stack fallacy on top of fallacy. And it's like, if you address one fallacy, you concede the other fallacy. But no matter what, even if they're right about every single thing they say, it's still illegal for the shooting. It's still against every legal precedent. It's still against the court history. It's still against DHS policy. So it kind of doesn't matter if she was trying to hit him, to me. I mean, I don't think she was, and I think she was a lovely person, and I think she just had the heart of I mean, from all accounts, and I think she was more concerned about other people than herself, and that's why she was doing what she was doing. So I mean, I'm not trying to quibble over every single point, even though I think that they are wrong on every single point. But even if they're right on every single point, their overall conclusion is still wrong. Dylan, well, you're a keyboard warrior. You weren't. Oh, so yeah, okay, anyway. Yeah, and sorry, it's a you're there. I gotta be fair on this, Luke. But well, you're a keyboard warrior. You weren't in her situation. And that's the thing, is like, people are, well, you weren't there, and they, assume that they would do better. Everybody that was there is on her side. And at least all the non-ICE agents that were there. No, dude, that is not what. Are you a real person? They are not trained to do that. They're trained specifically to not do that. That is the opposite of true. That is 183-degree polar opposite of true. And it's dumb. You don't stand in front of moving cars. I bet you think they're taught to play in traffic too. Ep, you're a popular guy around here. I don't know what independent means anymore. I think that there are a lot of independents. Like, we think of like right, left, and independent as being in the middle. But I think more and more there's independents that are further to the left and further to the right of either party. Although MAGA's kind of become, that. But I think there are a lot of independents that are, like socialists, social democrats, or democratic socialists, depending on which one of those you want to use. I think there are a lot of Democrats that are or a lot of liberals that call themselves independents because the Democratic Party is too far to the right of them. I'm doing pretty good. It's my mom's birthday. Oh, awesome. So I'm going to be picking up some flowers for her in roughly 30 minutes. That's awesome. I hope you guys have a great time. What's Jill Stein doing? Oh, goodness, I don't know. I don't think of Jill Stein as that. I think of Jill Stein as being like a what's the word I'm looking for? Asset. That's it. A Russian asset. I don't think she has any pure political motive at all. She's about as left as Tulsi Gabbard is. You are awesome for that. Okay. About that, Mom. Boy, I'll tell you what, for the most part, this place gets a lot friendlier once all the MAGA bots leave. Think about your comment. If Trump loses again, did somebody say that? He can't lose again, let alone run again. I wonder how many people really don't understand that or don't believe that or don't care about that, like that think that there should be some sort of loophole that Trump finds because the 2024 election was stolen from him, or the 2020 election was stolen from him, and therefore he should get another term or something. When all the citizens in the city become witnesses at his hearing, he's so done. I'd respond to the streamer, but he won't see my comment until 10 business years later with zero idea of the context of my comment. Well, I'm sorry. I do try to bump forward. And you're actually pretty close to accurate. I'm about 11 minutes behind. So I see, here's my conflict though, Dylan, is that I either, if I don't go through them all, then people complain that I'm censoring them. And if I do go through them all, it takes me time because I'm trying to actually talk to them. All right, Kelly, again, you are not arguing our side of this well at all. I'm sorry. Lose the attitude. Okay. All right. That's a fair criticism. I'll try. I get frustrated. I'll admit it. Sometimes it's frustrating because you explain the same thing 27 different times, and then so I will try this nice and calmly. The fact here, I'll just try this one more time. I'll try this. All right. This is actually all we need to know. This is where the 3 shots are fired. And you can see in each of these shots, he is positioned to the left of the vehicle. According to DHS policy, if you can move out of the way of the vehicle, then that is what you should do. There's no justified force if you can move out of the way of the vehicle. In the first shot, there is some dispute as to where exactly his torso was positioned, which is somewhat moot because in the time that he was positioning himself in such a way as to be struck by the vehicle, if he were indeed struck and not striking the vehicle himself, he could have been moving out of the way. Like you say, like 1 second, 1/2 second. Well, and he could have just moved his body slightly. So when he fired the first shot, he was not in the path of the vehicle. When he fired his second shot, he was not in the path of the vehicle. When he fired his third shot, he was not in the path of the vehicle. As long as he's not in the path of the vehicle, he is not authorized to shoot. Why was his gun already drawn in shot 1 is another thing. If he was struck, why did he already have his gun drawn? He drew his gun while she was still in reverse. He could have just moved a step to the left, same amount of time. And so according to DHS policy, this was not a justified shooting. The second thing I would mention about this is, again, if this woman weren't killed and they arrested her and detained her and charged her for attempted murder, it never would have even gotten past a grand jury. I don't even know if you could have found a prosecutor that would bring charges. There is no reason to believe that she was trying to kill him. It's pretty apparent, especially when you look at the, video of her very visibly steering the wheel out of the way. And there, it's just obvious that she was trying to just leave, which is legal. So right there, that is the entire case. That's all we need to know. That his life was not actually in danger. And his life not being in danger means that this shooting was not justified. I hope that's better. At least it wasn't angry. Do I get a B? Thanks, Rodney. Why was it your opinion on him holding a cell phone as well? Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. Am I falling behind again? Yeah, I think so. I'm only 3 minutes behind. I think that's just like the fact that he was holding his cell phone and filming it. Like my whole thing on this is not like that he was intending to go there and kill her. I think he was a poorly trained officer who was standing in front of the car when he shouldn't have been, according to like just so many, like between social media and news interviews and newspaper accounts. Like everybody that talks about it is I just see it repeatedly. I don't know about this Dylan guy or whoever it is that keeps saying you're supposed to stand in front of the vehicle. Everyone says that you don't stand in front of the vehicle because you're not going to be able to stop somebody standing in front of the vehicle, and you're definitely not going to stop them if you shoot them. You're only increasing your chances of getting hit by the car. So his positioning himself there was incompetent. And then his filming with his own video, with his own phone camera while he's doing it. If you're worried about filming, wear a body camera. But why is he's like distracted? And then you can hear when she starts driving away and starts trying to drive away. And he's like, oh, like you can hear him like, oh, wow, she's moving. And then, then he shoots her. Like he was caught off guard when she started driving. That's part of why I think the whole thing about, like she was, he was a threat. It was just plain negligence on his part. Maybe I would say he should be prosecuted for negligent homicide because he was not where he was supposed to be doing. He was doing something he shouldn't have been doing. And the result of all that is there's a woman that's dead. His incompetence caused her death. But it was still positioned to the left of the car. That's the point. There's cases of this, and that's why I point out again and again. I've said it a few times. This is like if somebody ran out of bullets and their gun was empty, and then you shot them and killed them, and you're like, well, they already shot at me. That doesn't make it a justified killing. Once they're no longer a threat, they're no longer a threat. He's to the left of the car. Whether he had been hit or not is irrelevant at that point. He's not dead and she's not dead. Instead of pulling the trigger, he could have just moved out of the way. So this comes to the, you don't know facts at all. Why don't you just say the facts? Yeah, so then Epps says, I'm just stating official policy. Officers are not allowed to use deadly force on a person who has no other weapon other than a vehicle. That's mostly accurate. The one exception is B, if they're using that vehicle as a weapon and there is no other means of defense. And it specifically includes in the DHS language and in the DOJ language that including getting out of the way. If you can move out of the path of the vehicle, your first option is to get out of the path of the vehicle. So either he was violation of policy either deliberately or undeliberately. But either way, he was in violation of DOJ policy. So it's either competence or it's either just murder was in his heart and he was just going to kill her, or he was being incompetent. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying he's incompetent. Can't send long messages on here. Well, just say one. Like what is your basic argument? But the fact is that if he could move out of the way, that's what he should do, and he is out of the way at this point. Yeah, and the fact that he previously was involved in a similar incident actually should it reinforces the incompetence narrative. Like, you're so traumatized by this previous incident where, by the way, what he did was stick his arm inside a car, like, and he got dragged by the person trying to flee instead of like letting go. Like, because he was stupid enough to think that he could stop a moving car before, like, you would think he would have learned from that. So, like, that's just more incompetence to me. So I'm hoping the thumbs up means I got to be on my rational and calm explanation. The fact this guy has more than one incident is insane. Yeah, and the fact, like, if they're going to be citing that as like, oh, well, he was traumatized, why is this traumatized guy that's going to overreact and start killing people on the streets, So this guy isn't a newbie. Well, that's interesting. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt and assuming he was just too stupid to know better. But he's been on the job 10 years and he doesn't know to not stand in front of a moving vehicle. This guy is definitely not bright. He's not as smart as the snowbank he's standing next to. Peaceful protest is perfectly fine. This is far from peaceful. What is far from peaceful? She wasn't doing anything non-peaceful. Why did they approach her? She was trying to turn away. She wasn't even protesting, dude. Everything, like, what's not peaceful is like, but was January 6th a peaceful protest? Like, you guys say that January 6th was a peaceful protest. You say that what's her name? Air Force girl, what's her name? Ashley Babbitt was a peaceful protester. All she was trying to do is worm through a broken window of a barricaded door trying to murder the vice president of the United States. That's peaceful protesting, but trying to turn around on a public street is violent. I can't understand how you could expect to use a gun and record at the same time. Yeah, and as Brett pointed out earlier too, that the sound that people are trying to associate with the him being hit by a car was probably the sound of the phone hitting the ground. Phones tend to make sounds when they get dropped. Gonna respond and say what I want to say, knowing that the streamer won't see my comment until much later. I am putting my phone back down. Also, will be in multiple comments. Okay. She approached ICE. Her death. She didn't approach ICE. ICE approached her. She was pulling around. ICE came up to her. She antagonized the agents. That doesn't matter. And it was her spouse that antagonized the agents. She was being nice. But no, somebody being mean is not justifications for lethal force. Whether she still hit him is also irrelevant because he was out of the way when he shot her. Again, he's out of the way when he shot her. If she was not an immediate threat to him when he shot her, it's not a justified killing. Hey, Skippy. I've been wondering if you were going to pop up here today. How you doing? I've got your Pat Robertson thing all ready to go, but never seems to be a good time. Um, uh, well, incompetence is being, but we're not talking about her. We're talking about him. And she wasn't interfering with police. She's just trying to turn around. Um, he had almost zero time to react. She also had no time to react. We had all day to consider how they should have reacted. And that's why I say you've got to look at who had the training, who initiated what, who knew, who was supposed to know where he was positioned. Was she supposed to know where he was positioned, or was he supposed to know where he was positioned? You can look like she backed up right beforehand, right? And she's backing up. It seems like to me she's backing up to avoid him. And then he moved himself in front of her. Like she didn't know. And she's got like two other things going on. She's got the thing with her wife trying to get back in the car. So she's got a bunch of stuff to go on. And most people, when we back up, we're either looking at our backup camera or we're looking out the back window. We're not paying attention to who's in front of us because we're backing up. She was going backwards when he stepped in front of the car drawing his gun. Then she went into drive. So I think you're accurate in bringing up, we need to think of her state of mind too. And her state of mind is not look like she's trying to kill him. I would say if she were trying to kill him, she would not have backed up and she wouldn't have been steering away from him. I don't think she had any thought at all. I don't even think it occurred to her that he would think she was trying to kill him. Like, I don't think that ever even crossed her mind. And I don't think it ever crossed her wife's mind. I don't think it had crossed anybody else's mind that was there, including the other ICE officers, because you don't see them react the same way. Which normally, if like you see your partner in danger and you know, if she had pulled out a gun and started firing at him, they would have pulled out their gun and started firing at her. But they didn't do that either. Nobody else seemed to think that her life was in danger. And so we've been watching this all day and we've been seeing it. But the very first time I watched it, I was like, she was not trying to kill him. The only, like, if you're trying to watch it to see her trying to kill him, I can see where you could, you know, like somebody could come up with that. But an honest, if you were to just watch this on, you know, like on Law and Order or something, where it was like an episode of TV, you wouldn't be right away thinking she was trying to kill him. She is still at fault no matter how this swayed. No, she's not. Because, okay, let me put it this way. Whether she is at fault is irrelevant because she has her actions and you can judge her actions however you want. But his actions are also still, you know, in play. That it's not which one of them was at fault. They could have both been at fault and neither one could have been at fault. But her fault has no bearing on whether he was at fault. We're talking about what he did was his shooting her, was his use of lethal force, was that authorized according to Department of Homeland Security protocol? And it wasn't. Whatever she did doesn't change that. He still has to be judged based on what he did. That's why I keep saying it's about him. It's not about her. And gassing the pedal down, the real gassing of the pedal came after she was shot. And still, it's irrelevant because as you can see right here and right here, when that happened, he was well clear of the vehicle and he was no longer a threat. Ross tried to tase the other guy while he was dragged along. Oh, the guy that was too stupid to let go of the door? That's like, this is why, I mean, like, what did he think he was going to do? Stop the car? Like, why not just let go? I mean, it's like these ICE agents, no wonder they can't pass a written test that's open book. Yes, and that's the other, and this is a good point Ep makes, That would be a fine argument if it was just a car accident and not a homicide. And that's why I say, okay, if she were prosecuted, would she be convicted? And what could reckless endangerment or something maybe? But I don't even know if that would hold up in court. I don't know that you would find a prosecutor that would be able to prosecute her or would want to. The body cam footage has been released. It's not body cam footage, it's cell phone footage. Unless, that there's been some kind of body cam footage since I've been here. But the thing everybody keeps calling body cam footage is not body cam footage. It's his cell phone footage. And the very fact he has cell phone footage is damning. Like, he should not have cell phone footage. He should not have been filming this with his camera. Isn't that wild? It is wild. Cell phone, yeah. So, thank you, guys. Refuses to acknowledge, just directs to another topic. I don't know. Oh, are you talking about Dylan? He is also a MAGA. Skippy's more of a, I don't know if he's a MAGA. He's more of a, strikes me as more of a 90s libertarian. Would you agree with that, Skippy? Is that a good way to describe you? Late comment 3 in response to streamer. Yes, she did approach to. No, she didn't. She, her wife approached the ICE. They didn't approach the ICE agents. Got out of their car and walked over. Whether she was like following around ICE all day or not, yes, that's that is. I did a thorough fact check on things, and which were rumored versus confirmed. This is a rumor that is mostly spread around by Trump supporters. But whether they were going around and she was a legal observer, whether she was actually legally observing that day is a bit up in the air. But illegal observers have full legal rights to follow around ICE and document what they're seeing. So she wasn't doing anything illegal, and she's not interfering, and she wasn't approaching them. She was monitoring them when she was doing the legal observer thing. Most accounts establish that she had just dropped her son off at school, and she was driving home or somewhere. She was driving somewhere with her spouse, and then there was an ICE operation going on there, and she saw, like, as she was driving down the street, she saw them, and so she pulled over, and she was like kind of backed up to turn around. She was doing a 3-point turn, and then the ICE agents, you see even in the footage, she was waving them by, and a few went by, and then these 3 stopped and got out, and they started harassing her. Then her wife got out, and she started harassing the ICE officers, and some of them were telling her to leave, and others were telling her to stop. So she was getting conflicting information. This is also according to all the people that were in the neighborhood that witnessed it. So I don't know if that clarifies anything, but she didn't approach the ICE officers. The ICE officers confronted her. And all of that said, none of what she did means that authorization of lethal use of force. It doesn't matter. Again, I just went through all that, and you just typed this as I was, or before I even talked it. But just, it doesn't matter. Again, what she did does not matter. What he did matters. Apply your same logic to other circumstances. I think that, I don't know what circumstances you would be referring to, but I would say that in any circumstance where a police officer ended a situation, any kind of law enforcement officer ended a situation like this, that they would be done. I think you're maybe trying to get a hint at Waco, Waco, they didn't. The Waco people were there, ready to shoot the agents as they executed their warrant. Who fired first is apparently a big thing, but they were executing a legal search warrant. They weren't just trying to turn or make a 3-point turn in the middle of a street. She did nothing illegal. Some heatless, dumb fornicators think that she deserved a headset for driving away. No, no ice was hurt. Yeah. I just there's no way that she would have ever been convicted of a crime. Babbitt was eager to be the first who climbs through the broken window. You know what's sad about Ashley Babbitt is that the one person that got trampled to death wearing a Gadsden shirt isn't like more famous. I think, like, was she like going, read my shirt? Or no, was it a flag? I think it was a Gadsden flag. Read my sign. Read my sign. She was trampled to death wearing with a don't tread on me. Anyway, I wonder who released the cell phone footage. My guess is he did, since it's his cell phone, or they told him to, thinking that it was going to be some kind of own the libs type moment. And MAGA's treated it like that, to be fair. But I mean, I just think it just further shows he's incompetent. Why is he recording it with his cell phone? And why is he standing in front of the car? And why is he going, oh, like, oh boy, look, cars move. Yeah. So yeah, Ron Paul, that's definitely his son. I agree with his son Rand on the whole war power stuff. Which, by the way, did you notice that the Senate said no? I don't know if the House will. Back for a few minutes. Good's last words to ICE Agent Ross. That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Yeah. And she was smiling and she was like being pleasant. She does not look like somebody that's about to murder somebody or wants to murder somebody. His last words were after, yeah. That's somebody, that is not an act, that those words suggest to me that this was not an act of defense. It was an act of revenge. And the way he said them. He didn't say it in relief. He said it in contempt. Oh, yeah. I don't know about that. That's interesting. Wouldn't be surprising. All right. So I'm all caught up on my comments. Sort of. I didn't read them all, but I finally got caught up. I think that's the first where I actually read them until I caught up. So I think that's a good indication that maybe we should shut off for now. Her wife exited the car before Miss Good moved her car across the road, blocking the street. Her intent. Well, again, okay. Okay, I didn't see when the wife got out. It looked to me like she was trying to turn around, but that would change things. Maybe I don't know what was going on with all that. That's a good point. But none of that, like the ICE agents were still able to get by because you could see them drive by. And it was all done. Do I have a regular time that I start streaming? I do. I try to start at 2 p.m. Central Time on Monday through Friday. So that tends to be my general start time, and then I'll go 3 or 4 hours depending on how well the conversation goes and how long I can go without being. Fair point to the conflicting orders by ICE. However, I too researched this, and documentary by reports state her wife and Renee showed up to observe, engaged, and then backed out when a ICE agent started giving orders. Which is, I mean, that's a totally legal activity. Like, there's nothing wrong with her doing that. And like, so that would be consistent with what Rodney was saying. So hey, and Rodney and everybody else, if you actually haven't subscribed yet and you want to subscribe, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button. But none of that is lethal force, justified for lethal force. I mean, do you think that if she had just been sitting there and he came up and emptied his gun to the side of her head, that it would have been justified? Like, this is like trying to find a reason to blame her, or to say that she initiated. None of this would have happened if she had just not been there. When you can say about any murder victim anywhere. The thing is to not make it about her. If you want to make her actions about her as a separate discussion, but the shooting was him. He did he shot her. And so was his shooting of her justified? That's what we're looking at here. And according to the law, according to the DHS policy, according to DOJ policy, according to every legal precedent and court history case, if he can move out of the way without shooting her, that is what he should have done. So everything about her is irrelevant in a sense, because what matters is what he did, not what she did. He shot her. And so even if she were wrong to everything that she did, even if you were right on every single point you made, shooting her was still not justified by him. And I've used this as a crude analogy, and I'm not trying to say this to you, but if a husband beats his wife because she didn't have dinner ready in time, that doesn't make it okay for him to beat his wife. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't just say, well, she had done this, he wouldn't have done that. He made her do that. But yeah, like that she should have gotten out. Okay, sorry. Late comment response, fair point. Okay. Engaged, and they backed only when the ICE agent started giving orders. Yeah. So all of that is. Oh, thank you. I appreciate. I've gotten kind of a lot of subscribers in the last couple of weeks. I subscribed 30 minutes ago. Thank you, Tom. Thorn. Winch rotates to my original point. Winches rotates to my original point. She chose to engage of her own, but she didn't choose to engage. She chose to observe at the best, at most. She did not ask them to come out, and she didn't cause the conflict. She didn't confront them. She may have, even if she had been observing them, she didn't confront them. Even by just staying in her car and not going to them. You can say her wife confronted them. All of that might be true, but she didn't confront anybody, and she actually was kind to them. She was nice to them. And again, none of that warrants lethal force. Like, you can't shoot somebody because you're a police officer and somebody gave you a feelings boo-boo and said something mean to you. And she didn't. I don't think she chose to gas into the agent. I really don't. I do not think that the video shows that. I think that she was trying to avoid him, and you can tell that because her hand is going hand over hand on the steering wheel, steering away from him. And again, still doesn't matter because he was clear of the vehicle when he fired all 3 shots. So again, you're making it about her. And it's not about her. It's about him. He shot her. So it's about what he did, not what she did. Well, I mean, it's in some respects, you can say it's both what he did and what she did. But in terms of the legality of what he did, in terms of whether what he did is legal or not, it is 100% about him. All of the other cars just passed her car. Yeah, and so that makes the whole blocking traffic narrative seem kind of dumb because she wasn't blocking traffic. Police have become militant since the start of the GWOT. What is the GWOT? What is the GWOT? What? I don't know what GWOT is. Sorry, I don't know. What is, let me see if. Oh, the War on Terror. Yeah. I think that we went way overboard on so much of that. Actually, I should do a whole thing on that. So, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office deputy named John Ross was fired in May 2015 due to gee, I am so shocked. This guy doesn't like women who like don't do what he says. Like, oh my goodness, if that's the same one, I mean, I need to make sure, but I haven't been this shocked since the big fiery ball appeared in the sky at sunrise. Global war on terrorism, yeah. That whole thing, like we've just basically made everything we can, 9/11 to justify everything we can, including the invasion of Venezuela. The pro-ICE people claim her wheels slipped when she allegedly tried to ram a car. Bonkers claim. So it's still ICE's fault? Get it. ICE. Pro-ICE. ICE, baby. All right. That one might have been a stretch. I thought it was pretty funny. Anyway, I'm going to end now, I think. I appreciate you guys. And I've been enjoying getting to know some of you guys that come back. So I really appreciate your comments. Skippy, I was all ready to go with Pat Robertson, but we were kind of nearing the end of the show. I actually really want to go over this with you when you're here because I found it. I learned some things and I thought it was really interesting, and hopefully I'll have some things that you find are interesting too. But would you agree, if you're still here, would you agree that Pat Robertson was Trump before Trump was Trump? Thank you, Rodney. Okay. All right. So I think I'm going to head out at that. Hope you guys have a great weekend. If you watch football and you have a favorite team in there, good luck to your favorite team. Do you host voice interviews? I would love to do a call-in one day and to debate and say what I want to say without a limit to text restraints. Okay, you can send me an email at machinepunkelly@gmail.com, and we'll see what we can do. I'm open to having alternate voices on the podcast, as long as they follow certain rules, and by that I just mean be respectful. And you seem like not to be. You seem like to be a decent person that's not going to come on and try to sabotage my podcast. But that's basically all I'm worried about, is I don't want somebody coming on and saying a bunch of stuff that's going to get my show canceled, or my monetization yanked by YouTube. It's not about whether somebody disagrees with me or not. My mother used to tell me how scary Pat Robertson was hiding behind the Christian veil. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was like, man, we dodged that bullet back in the 90s. But he came close. He came close to winning. No problem, Dylan. No problem. All right, guys. I will. I'm going to take off now. I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Monday.